Hi, hello and welcome. Welcome back to another Onkruid video. Welcome back to another video on the book Weg van het piekeren or Away from Worrying by Filip Raes. We've had a couple of videos in it already. We've covered the introduction and the first two chapters. Logically, today we're talking about the third chapter. The title of the third chapter is Picking the Right Action or de juiste actie kiezen. I guess picking is not really correct, it's more like choosing the right action. Last episode was all about the indication that action is the best remedy against worrying. So when you are worrying, you should think by yourself, what? Worrying, huh? Action time? Immediately jump into action and do something instead of thinking that you're doing something about your problems. But then the question might arise, well, okay, I noticed that I'm worrying. I want to go over into action. I want to do something. What the hell do I do? And that's exactly where this chapter comes into play. And one of the main quotes at the start of the chapter that perfectly, I think, summarizes what the approach is for most people. It's of course a bit individually tailored, but one kind of main sentence that everybody that worries should keep in the back of their mind is that the avoidance is actually pointing you in the right direction toward the right action. Most of the time when people are worrying, as we have seen already in previous videos, it is about avoidance. It is about, oh no, I don't want to go for that run because it's too cold outside, and what if I get sick? I don't want to look at that new software package that we need for work because what if I don't understand it and my colleagues find me stupid, they find me dumb, they find me a bit of a dunce. All those things are specific avoidance worrying behaviors, and therefore the logical action when you notice that you're worrying is going for that run, looking at the information on that software package, just doing the exact things you are avoiding. Worrying, huh? Action time. I know that my worrying is not really helping me, it's not bringing me any closer to a realistic solution. I also might feel like I'm working on my problem, but I'm not really doing it, so that's why normally worrying would give me rewards inside my brain, but I now know that's not really helpful, that's not the case. I'm way better off focusing on my values, my long-term goals, and that is very much easier. That's a lot easier when I actually go over into action and I stop worrying and I go and do the thing that I am afraid to do. And it's also where all your learning experiences are very important, especially for the example about running. You will automatically normally realize, but wait, last week I also went for a run even though I was a bit dreading it, and I remember that awesome feeling I had afterwards. I reached my 5k mark, I had a nice warm shower and a cup of tea afterwards while reading a bit in my book. It was all in all just a general pleasant day, and it was pleasant because I started off with a run. I'm gonna get out of bed. I know from previous times that it's helped me, I'm gonna do it again. Now that is all pretty straightforward, right? Because those are all things you are in control about. But the worrying decision tree states that things that you're in control about, okay, we're gonna do that specific action that you were worrying about. Can you do it right now? Do it right now. Can you not do it right now? Write down the first step in a specific manner. But all the way back down to the worrying decision tree, what about that other part, right? The part where you don't have control over what you're worrying about. What if you're worrying about, is Ukraine-Russia ever gonna get solved? Is the fighting ever gonna diminish, or are we headed for World War III? What will happen if World War III breaks out? Am I safe? Is my family safe? Am I gonna have to leave the country? What if when? What if this happens? What if that happens? You're worrying. You don't have control over that. You can't go into Ukraine and enter war yourself. You can't put a white flag in the middle of the battlefield and everybody will stop shooting. No, that's not the case. As evidenced in recent events that even when Russia says that they're gonna stop shooting, they don't even stop shooting, but that's a discussion for another video. Either way, a lot of people that worry about those kinds of things are people that worry about all things in life almost. They worry excessively. And that's why we're talking about worrying disorder, or the actual term, general anxiety disorder. And when this comes up, you're worrying about something you don't have control about, the main ingredient to counteract that worrying is mildness. Being mild towards yourself. It's okay that you worry, it's a part of you, that's fine, you're not going to be able to change it easily, but be mild towards yourself that it happened, and then also, full of mildness, kindly point your attention at something else. You could also, for example, imagine a situation where you're waiting for results from medical tests. That's something the author of the book also talks about. Be mild towards yourself that you're worrying about it, because it is of course logical that that lingers in the back of your mind and has a bit of an impact on your mood, on your mental health, on your state, on your day-to-day life. And then just try to move on with your life. Kindly point your attention towards other aspects of your life. And while doing these other things, while going for other actions, and which specific actions is going to come up in the next subheader, be mild towards yourself and be accepting towards the fact that you will still worry probably. The worrying still exists. You are still a worrier. That's still kind of your personality. That's your temperament. That's because of the neuroticism like we talked about already. You're just a bit more of an anxious person in life maybe, and you will keep on worrying. The worrying will come up even when you're doing something actively, and stay accepting towards that fact. Stay mild toward that fact. Now, what is the action you can work towards if you actually don't have any control over the topic you are worrying about? The answer is pretty straightforward. Do the things that give you value in life. That answer is straightforward, but it's not easy. A lot of people often don't really have a clear view of what actually gives them value in life. The only time people often have a clear view of that is when things in their life aren't going their way and they are not living according to their values anymore. Although it's also true that when it's not going well with a person, when you are, for example, encountering some depressive feelings, you often immediately put those actions on the back burner. You put them on the bottom of your priority list. Meeting with friends, if you're normally a person that values social interaction, no, you don't have the energy for that. Going for a run, if you're a sporty person, no, I don't have the energy for that today, I don't feel like going for a run. Reading more, no, I have problems with concentrating because my mind is too full of the worrying behaviors. I'm not gonna do that anymore right now. I need to feel better first. Now, how do you find those values and those valuable actions for you as a person? The first approach is, for example, ask yourself what really gives you pleasure in life. What gives you a lot of fun? What do you like to do? What do you enjoy most to do? What do you really look forward to doing when you see it pop up on your agenda? For me personally, that would be, for example, going for a nice round of padel with my friends. Or I know that, for example, next week on Thursday, a good friend of me asked me whether we could go pooling together because she has never done it before. Pooling, playing billiards, you know? And that's also something I'm really looking forward to. Because primarily the value for me is that I love meeting up with friends and being socially valuable for other people. And the additional value is that I know that she does it from a standpoint of exploring new things in life. And as a client-centered therapist in the future, growth and therefore exploration of your own capacities and capabilities in life is something very close to my heart. So proud of her, and that also makes the action even more valuable for me. If you're looking for specific values and not even still the actions, ask yourself, what would you like a person that you care about to say about you? If somebody would ask your partner or your best friends like, hey, what kind of a person is he or she like? What would you like them to say? You could say friendly, funny, always helpful, always on top of things, very open about their mental health. Could also be something you would like to be said about you. Empathic, hard worker, always busy, strong, unwavering, all values you can have in your life. A bit of a cruel question, but also one that can really spark some interesting thoughts inside of you. What would make you feel like life was worth it when you are dying? When you're at the end of your life, what would make you look back and realize, yeah, I did something with my life that I can be proud of? That could, for example, be creating a nice family, and then having a family, and family values could be one of your values. Or if that's all too vague and difficult to come up with values, just go over the domains that most people find their values in. Like, for example, relationships, relaxation and doing things in your free time, spirituality, making a career or having some nice studies, general health, both physical and mental, self-care, self-development, you name it. You can also easily look up some lists of popular values online to get some inspiration. While thinking about those values, if you notice that one of them is really, really underrepresented in your life nowadays, you really don't do it anymore all that often, that specific value is an important one. There's a large margin for gains in that value. Something that you stop doing, starting that back up again can really make you feel like your life is more worthwhile again. And important when you choose actions that follow from these values is that you choose small, concrete steps. Don't go too big. It's not go big or go home. It is iterations. It is committing to the values, committing to the actions, doing them over and over and over again. If one of your values is creativity and a specific goal for you is to write a book, don't write an entire book as a specific goal. That is way too long term of a goal. Your goal should be day to day. Today I'm gonna write 2 pages of my book. Today I'm gonna write 5 pages of my book. Today I'm gonna reread the 10 pages I wrote the previous week of my book. Smart goals are very important. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound. If you want more information on like the power that small changes can have in your life, you can look at a book with a very much explaining title, The Power of Small by Leonard Curtin and Leonard Curtin. And very helpful for those valuable actions is also that you kind of fuse them together with other actions and with like specific time-bound moments in your day. The example the author gives is that he wanted to get into meditation a bit more, and every day when he woke up, he just spent like a minute at the side of his bed just breathing for a second, and then it turned into 5 minutes and then 10 minutes, and making that connection with something you already always do makes it easier for you to keep that action going, keep the ball rolling, build up that habit. If thinking about values is for some reason a bit hard for you, the next subheader has got you covered. Look for the activities that give you flow. What flow is basically this state of extreme focus and calmness as well, where you are really productively acting on something, productively being busy with something, and you forget about time and space. You get completely engulfed in the work or whatever you are doing, and that's an activity that gives you flow. You're in a flow state. Those are often also the activities that align with your values. For me, for example, sometimes when I'm editing a YouTube video and it's going well, I can just do it for an entire hour without realizing an hour passed. True. It's pretty true past me. It's pretty goddamn true. Sometimes also reading, if it's a really good book, like, don't tell anybody, but I really like this book. It's called Away from Worrying by Filip Raes. I can get lost in a flow state as well, but it's a positive way of getting lost. The time flies by when you're having fun, for example. So a flow state for you could also be, for example, going out with friends and having deep conversations with them. Most of the time, the activities that provoke a flow state in us are the activities that have like a perfect balance between satisfaction, reward, and also challenge. They have to be challenging and they have to align with the skills you have in life. If things are too easy, you will easily get distracted. If things are too hard for your current skill set, you might lose all hope and stop doing it as well. So the perfect balance right there is important, and that's where the flow activities will often be found. And a final tip of like finding a specific action is mentioned in the next subheader. Do what you would do if you were not worrying or worrying less. Have a positive focus on your mental health instead of the usual negative focus like I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling worse than yesterday, I'm not getting to anything, I'm not achieving any of my goals. Think about what you would normally do if things would go right. A behavior registration form could be helpful here, where you register your actual behaviors throughout the day and whether you were worrying or not, and that can help you give a clear vision, a clear overview of which activities keep you away from the worrying. And those are also perfect activities to do when you are worrying about something you don't have control about. That's a whole bunch of options. A general tip for all these options, for doing things in line with your values, doing things that you would normally do when you were not worrying, and doing things that provoke a flow state in you, is to do it together with other people, because social connectedness is a buffer against negative mental health effects, and it can also keep you out of your mind. You're already talking externally, so the internal monologue of worrying doesn't get a chance. And also do it outside. More on that in the next chapter though. And then the second to last subheader of this chapter is all about acceptance and commitment therapy. Regardless of the worrying, go for well-being, go for a good mental health, regardless of the fact that you are worrying. It has been said a myriad times throughout previous chapters, and it will be repeated in the next chapter. Don't fight the worrying. Don't try to diminish the worrying. Go for a valuable life while accepting the fact that that worrying is a part of you. There's a striking image in the book, which the author also calls the most important image of the entire book, and you can see it on screen right now. Go for the 2B route. go for 2b into 3 and don't go for 2a. Try to just increase the white zone, the positive zone in your brain a little bit, while keeping in mind that the black zone, the worrying zone, the negative zone is still gonna be there. Accept it. Don't try to fight it, because then you will land in 2a and it will only get larger and larger. Think about the white bear experiment. Trying not to think about worrying will make you worry even more. It will expand the negative zone and it will greatly diminish the positive zone. Approach the worrying and other negative feelings in your life with mildness and a lightness. Don't lay your focus on the worrying. Focus on the things in life that actually make your life valuable, that make you have a good time. Focus on the positive things in life while not trying to fight or push away the negative things. They are there. We all have negative feelings, we all have negative days, we all have days where we don't want to get out of bed. Accept that. It's part of being human. Regardless of those days, try to make the most out of every single day. And specifically for therapists or for yourself, if you're trying to help yourself out a little bit, you can use this image as kind of like a measuring instrument. You can ask it every day to yourself, or every session you have with a client, for example, like, how is it today? How is the light and the dark zone holding up to each other? How are you feeling about those two zones? How does your brain look right now? And make sure that there are realistic expectations related to this topic, related to this measuring instrument. A relationship of 100% light to 0% dark is never gonna work, because that's not accepting, that's trying to get rid of it. Final subheader of this beautiful chapter: am I not ignoring my problems? And this has also been mentioned. And this has also been mentioned time and time before. No, you're not ignoring your problems because you're not worrying about them anymore. Worrying about them doesn't bring you any closer to solving your problems in reality. It feels like you're actively thinking about solutions, but nothing is further from the truth. In reality, you are avoiding. You are postponing actually dealing with the problems. And that's that. That's a chapter about which action to choose. If you have control over it, choose the specific action you are avoiding. If you don't have control over it, valuable actions, flow state actions, actions you would normally practice if you wouldn't be worrying or when you worry less. Make sure you have a mild, open, light, and humoristic kind of relationship with the worrying. Make sure you don't want to push it away or fight it, but you can, for example, be like, yeah, there's my worrying again, I know about that already. Be mild towards it, be open, accept it as a part of yourself. Let the negative and positive things exist next to each other. Most people, when they think about their mood and how their day went, they think about like a negative score or a positive score, and that is one line. No, let those lines coexist. You can feel sad at one part of the day, you can feel positive at the other part of the day. You can even feel those two feelings at once. Make sure that they are not mutually exclusive. Have the dark zone and the light zone coexist. They are both a part of you, and both can be there at the same time. Thank you very much for watching this video on the book Away from Worrying or Weg van de Pieker by Filip Raes. I hope it helps you to worry a bit less. See you in the next one. 2 more videos in this book, the final chapter about how people can actually change, and then a little short recapitulation video about the main take-home messages of the book and a bit of a personal review for me probably. Thanks a lot for sticking around. Bye bye.